car, you can stay on an anti-candida diet. It's true. Hi, everyone. I'm Ricki Heller. And if you've ever fallen off the wagon once and you're frustrated with the fact that this candida diet is challenging and all your symptoms keep coming back every time you cheat, then I have a perspective today that I think is really going to help. So, as I said, I'm Ricki Heller from rickiheller.com, and I'm a holistic nutritionist. I'm a whole foods recipe developer. I am a cookbook author and a candida coach. And I have stayed on an anti-candida lifestyle, which means I follow an anti-candida diet without cheating, none, no cheats at all, for 20 years. And I want to help you to do the same thing so that you can feel better, love your food again, regain your health, and live the life that you were meant to live. So, it's interesting because it's summertime here now, and I get questions from people all the time about how can I stick with it? There are so many temptations all around, particularly in summer, and all these amazing fresh fruits, many of which you can't have on an anti-candida diet, and all of these drinks on the patio and all those kinds of things. And I'm just going to adjust for a little bit of glare there. And so it becomes really challenging for a lot of people to stick with it. And I want you to think about this sort of analogy, because I was just thinking about this. Late last year, I got a new car. And it took me a while. If you've ever bought a car, think about how you do that process. If you've ever bought, I will say, even a secondhand car, new car, anything like that, how does it work, right? So for me, because I came to driving quite late in life, I was in my late 30s, I think, before I really started to learn how to drive. And so for me, it's not like a really pleasurable thing like it is for a lot of people. And so when I was looking for a new car, I knew I wanted one that was very similar to my previous car, which was very small because I never felt totally comfortable with this big box of metal around me and maneuvering on the street. So I wanted something small. So what do, right? You have these ideas in your head of what you're looking for. And I started to narrow it down over time. And then I thought, well, the one that I had before, which was a Mazda 2, I liked it. I liked the size perfectly, but there were certain features I didn't like so much. So I started looking online at what other cars were around the same size, and I found like 5 or 6. And then I narrowed it down a little bit more, and then I found a Nissan Micra, and I read all the reviews, and they were great, and it had all the features I wanted. I wanted something really simple. For me, driving is not something like it is for my husband, where, he just wants to look at the beauty of the car. For me, driving is very practical, pragmatic. If it gets me where I want to go, I'm good, right? So the Micra had all the features. And so then what happened at that point, once I had decided on the Micra, all I had to think about was, what color do I want? What additional features do I want? When I was out driving around or doing errands or out with my friends and I saw cars on the street, guess what happened? You can probably guess. I started noticing Micras, which I had never noticed before. And so I was taking in details of these things as I was walking around. And eventually I knew exactly what I wanted. And in fact, the guy at the dealership, I think I was kind of a little bit of a surprise to him, because I walked in, I said, I want a Micra. I want it to have this, 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 and this. Do you have that? I'm willing to pay this much. If you don't have it, bye. And he kind of thought I wasn't serious. And so we did this whole deal. He gave me a price. We said, okay. I go to sign the papers, and he said something like, oh, and there's this additional fee of $500 for blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, well, you told me a different price. Bye, right? So my point with all this is not that I'm a tough negotiator when it comes to cars. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But if you think about the parallels between that situation and sticking with your candida diet, for me, what I've discovered over the years, and this is something that I work through with all of my clients now, because I've realized there is a specific process that people go through when they are successful on an anti-candida diet. So there are 5 steps that everybody I've ever worked with, and I realize this is what I went through myself, everyone who's successful goes through those same 5 steps. And when they get to the end, they are able to stick with it without worrying about it, never feeling deprived or tempted. I can honestly say, as somebody who used to snack on Betty Crocker frosting out of the can, that was a favorite snack of mine. I didn't like it so much by itself, so I would buy sugar donuts and, eat 12 sugar donuts slathered in Betty Crocker frosting as a snack. As someone who used to do that regularly, I now never, and I mean never, think about eating things with sugar. It just does not enter my consciousness. It is never a temptation to me. So how does that happen? And I realized there were these 5 steps that everyone goes through. And once you get to 5, you're at that place where this is the way you eat and it is enjoyable. You can love your food again, and you don't have to feel like you're constantly struggling with this diet that is taking over too much of your thinking time and preventing you from really living your life. So I want to talk about all 5 steps, and I am going to do that over the next few days and couple of weeks. But today I wanted to just talk about the first one, and this is where buying a car comes in. Because really, in order to have that success, the very first step is you must be able to totally embrace being on an anti-candida diet. What do I mean by that? The idea that, yes, this is the way I'm eating now. This isn't a temporary thing until I can go back to eating Oreos and drinking wine and eating pizza and nachos, even though you can have some of those things on an anti-candida diet. But the idea that I am going to fully embrace this because this is the way of eating that is going to help me regain my health, and it's going to give me my life back to the point where right now I can say my life is better than it was before I had candida. And in pretty much every way, not just my health, I am doing something I love. I am happy in my life. I love myself so much more. So everything improved, not just my physical symptoms. And I think that's the key, that you can embrace the diet, understanding that you can still love your food and have fabulous meals, fabulous recipes that in no way have to feel like a deprivation. But to embrace the diet, that means you're ruling out other things, right? So once I committed to buying that Micra, I wasn't looking at other cars on the street anymore. I was only interested in the Micra. And that's the same thing with the anti-candida diet. There was a point for me where I realized I am going to commit 100% to eating this way, to living this way, to healing my body. And that is what's going to make the difference. And so you can follow the diet perfectly, but if in your head you're constantly thinking about when can I stop doing this, that is not going to lead to your success. And I think that's a really crucial difference, that there needs to be a shift mentally that this is the way I am eating now. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be like that forever, but in the moment, you need to behave as if it's going to be forever. And life can still be delicious. Food can still be phenomenal. I'm constantly hearing from my clients about how fabulous the food they eat is, because I am a foodie. I'm someone who was a chef and who was a pastry chef before. So for me, the notion that you wouldn't eat delicious food that you relish and enjoy, that is not a possibility, right? So I'm happy to create recipes for my clients so that they can understand that too. Because once you embrace that and accept that difference in your eating, that you're now on an anti-candida diet, everything else is going to follow, and it's going to be so much easier. And what happens is you eventually just tune out all that other stuff, because that's not your choice, right? It's not the Micra. I'm not looking at those other things anymore. The Twinkies and I don't know, the beer and whatever it may be that people are consuming that is not healthy, and that's actually helping candida to grow. Those do not interest me anymore. They literally are of no interest to me. It's not that I'm forcing myself to hold back and preventing myself from eating them, even though I really secretly want to eat them. No, I have no interest in those things. And so it was a process. I mean, this didn't happen overnight, obviously, but it started with truly embracing the diet. So I'm just going to quickly see if there's any comments or questions under here. I don't see any, but if for those of you who are watching, if you have anything you want to ask me right now, please do, and I'll just check my screen here and see if there's any comments or questions. Happy to chat with you guys. Always happy to hear from you guys. But I wanted to present that because I think it is so critical. It's such a critical shift, and it's a small thing. There are people who commit to the diet until, and then there are people who commit to the diet. So that first step is accepting this new way of eating that can be just as fantastic as what you remember. It's just a matter of making that choice. All right, so I hope that was helpful for you today. If it was, please do be sure to like the page and turn on those notifications up there, wherever they are, so that you don't miss the next one when I go live. And I'm always happy to chat with people when you're here, so please do leave your comments and questions. I will come back and check this video over the next 48 hours or so to see if there are any specific comments or questions that I can respond to. And I would love to hear from you about whether that was useful for you, and if it's something that you could do in your own journey, because I really think it's going to make such a huge, huge difference for you. All right, everybody, have a great day, and I will see you again next time. Bye.